It's Brian M. Just wanted to make a quick video of my 2006 Ford E350 van. The van's for sale, and I know it's really hard looking at pictures to get an idea of what things are like, what some of the details are, and this van's kind of full of details. Like I said, it's a 2006, it has about 155,000 miles. I converted it to four-wheel drive at about 100,000 miles. So let's take a look at the undercarriage right now. This is the 2004 F250 front axle. It has 373 gears. It has a Dynatrack front differential. The leaf springs are custom. The kit was done by U-Joint Off-Road. You can look them up online. They're pretty well known. And this was a DIY kit. So I took this axle, completely rebuilt it, and installed it using their kit. So everything you see here has about 55-ish thousand miles on it. So there really hasn't been any issues with the front end. It steers really nice, better than stock. You can see up here the cross member was cut for differential clearance. You can also see the underside of the motor. There's no leaks whatsoever. Also here there's a redhead power steering box. The tires are Toyo AT2s. They're 285/70/17. They're fairly new. They've only got a couple hundred miles on them. These are black Rhino wheels. They're the Madness wheel. And there is no rust. It's got these rally armor mud flaps. There's also another flap piece there made out of ABS to keep mud from building up back in there. This is a V10, so you can see the exhaust manifold there. You can see the stock F250 front sway bar. Here also you can see the way the exhaust was modified. It comes underneath the transmission right away, and then across to the catalytic converters, which were replaced when the conversion was done. Back up here you can see the Bilstein shocks and the new mounts. The coil bucket was turned into a shock mount as part of this conversion. You can see the bottom of the rockers are all Rhino lined. Factory running boards, factory side cargo doors, factory large mirrors, tow mirrors. Looking again at the undercarriage towards the back, it's got a 273 transfer case. It's electronic shift. You can also see here the 40-gallon Aero tanks, aftermarket tank. The rear end is a 2006 Ford F250, Bilstein shocks. It's got the Ford OEM LSD 373, of course, to match the front. Rear Sterling kit. Atlas springs, front and rear. These rears don't have any lift blocks, which is nice. Up here above is the air compressor. And you might even see back behind the tire is the tank. Air compressor, relay, 2 battery boxes with 75 amp hour AGMs in each one. That's the house battery setup. And also between them is the hydraulic jack stand, which replaces the OEM jack. And it's got other parts, but they're in a tool kit. It's just got a little twist knob, hand knob there to undo it. There's a little safety leash. It's never fallen out. Back of the front from the back. You can also see on the other side the exhaust for the hydronic water heater. I'll get to that here in a few. Bushwhacker flares, side exit exhaust, rally armor flaps, stock rear step bumper with Raptor liner. tow package, 12,000 pound hitch. Taking a look underneath the back, there's a F250 steel wheel with the. This has got rear AC, so you can see the lines are all in good condition. Getting more of the undercarriage here. Aero tanks, fuel tank, Philistine shocks. Okay, and here we are at the back. Let's take a look inside. The rear view camera here, perfect for hitching up. The door panels are HDPE plastic, basically high density polyethylene, pretty scratch resistant, moisture resistant. The bare bottle cap opener. These cubbies here, this one has the screens for the back. This one has my air stuff. Of course, the air comes out here. It's composite, quick coupler. Also the 7-pin for the tow hitch. Looking in the back here, this is the van slide, as I call it. There's a lock and unlock, basically right here. And that pulls on a set of cables that have 1/2-inch slide bolts into the track in the side. So then there's the upper slide, which is unlocked and locked here, which has a bolt that goes all the way through and has a lock and unlock on the front, so you can lock and unlock it from either side. When this is unlocked, you can access the refrigerator from the back. This is where we typically camp out and around the vehicle. We have kitchen set up. This, of course, is check box. It's not necessarily included in the sale, but I could be talked out of it. Or I have another one I'm building that could be talked out of. We usually set up camp, kitchen here. And then we set up our dish cleaning and sink over here, which is where we have the water sprayer. It has an anti-scald valve. There's a 10-gallon water pump or water tank up there with a water pump and a water exchanger. We'll actually crawl under there and take a look at that in a few, but there's also cargo lights down here. These also light up. That switch lights up the ones back here as well. This is also a 3-way switch, so it's switched up on the console forward. We'll take a look at it here in a bit. Water pump switch, so this should have water now. And if you're using this soon after driving, you'll have hot water, provided the temperature is up on the valve. Or you can have hot water by pressing the button on the hydronic heater, which is on the console forward. We'll take a look at that later. So we'll leave the pump on now. Put that away for now. And I can show you the insides of the slider. It's basically bicycle brake cable that pulls to 2 pulleys, and then the 1/2-inch, might actually be 3/8 slide bolts there. Then there's also full contact roller slides, roller bearings further forward. You can see the track and the holes that the bolts go into to lock. Everything's lined with HDPE down here. Everything's steel for the framework, powder coated. You can see the bed panels all come out. They've got spring-loaded pins. We'll actually get to that here in a bit. I'll take everything apart. So that about does it for the back area. One last look at that. Close this up. positively locks in place. This is the water fill, gravity fill, map light, or can be used for reading books in bed, or can be used over the kitchen area. You can see some of the interior. All the sportsmobile interior was gone. I didn't get it as part of the pop top, so all this had to be custom built and wrapped. Lights, AC vents. The AC still comes up, out the vents, out those vents. There's a shelf there for the interior shades. We'll take all this bed stuff out here in a minute. So I wanted to get this all closed up. You can see the cord there. There's a little bit of cord management involved, but you can see there's storage for plenty of chairs and hammocks and umbrellas and all kinds of stuff in here. It's all lined with carpet, tan carpeting. Again, the lights off, on. So we'll go up to the side cargo doors now. I also didn't mention there's pop-out windows on those rear windows, as well as this window and the window on the driver's side. So looking at the entrance, I built this little shoe gutter. There's also storage here. Hidden storage for first aid kits and batteries and stuff. Carpeting, you can see the lights here, and you can also see the Victron Smart Solar Charge Controller for the solar. It's where the solar comes down from the top to here and then down to the batteries. It's kind of the shortest route. We can take a look at the Victron app here in a minute. So this is the interior. The bed, the kitchenette. This also has water available, of course. Hot and cold depending on the condition of the heat exchanger, whether the van's been running previously or we've set the heater to run, which we'll go ahead and turn on. Here, this is the cargo lights, which you can see the rear ones I showed you turned off, and the lower ones turned off. This one's the upper lights. We'll get more into those ones later once we pop the top. Upper lights, voltmeter, and temp sensor for the hydronic heater. Pull the drain here. That water's draining into a small fuel tank that has been used for a gray water tank. Shelf in there. Hooks, we have our Camelbacks hanging in here. We keep, sodas or whatever so we can refill the fridge. Or we keep that stuff in here. We've got storage for toiletries and first aid, bathroom stuff, laying guards. This pops up. And you can set up your camp stove here. We don't like to have a permanently mounted camp stove because sometimes we like to camp stove it out back. Sometimes we like to camp stove it at a picnic table with our friends. Sometimes it's in here for hot drinks in the morning. We've actually got a small butane stove, so we actually carry 2 stoves. Redundancy isn't a bad thing. So we'll set that one up for hot drinks in the morning so we don't have to go out and set up the back. But there is a cassette toilet in here. Nice to have. That down. This thing is mounted to the OEM seat receptacle. These pull to release and they remove, so that kitchen is removable. And I also have the other seat, so it could go in there in its place if somebody wanted a 4-seater, 4-sleeper, and do away with the kitchen, because really the whole kitchen's out the back as long as you don't mind camping out the back. So there's also a little cubby thing here that we can store stuff. The seat swivels. DVD player, CD player, review camera, AC of course. Center console has storage. Got seat heaters. House radio switch, so you can have the radio stereo running off the house batteries, not the starter batteries. Air compressor switch. Interior light defeat switch, and of course the four-wheel drive switch. I was going to actually show a bunch of stuff over here from that side, but I've got it taken care of here. This thing. Turns around. Often the best seat in the house. Just chill here and hang out and kind of watch the world go by. I wanted to show the Lucid mattress. This is included. It's a trifold mattress. Also, I've hooked the bed up to the ceiling, so it's kind of nice when it's just one or two people. Kind of have that headroom. This is the Blue Sea 6-place fuse block. This panel comes off. Some Velcro. So that makes this wiring all very accessible. You can see there's control panel, plenty of room to expand too. And even though this is full, some of these things can be grouped up. The SIG plug and the lights can go together, and the max fan could probably even be on that too. I also took the Lucid mattress out, so now you can see this is all diamond plated vinyl. This also can pivot, so I just unlocked it here, and allows you to get to the refrigerator even if the drawer doesn't work or it doesn't unlock, or for some other reason you need to get to, you know, your cargo down in here. And this also exposes the water tank. It's about a 10-gallon tank. You can see down in here there's the water pump and the heat exchanger. They're sitting basically in a drip pan that's dimpled on the bottom and drains out the floor. More of the storage we saw from the back. So like I mentioned before, all of this stuff has been replaced, recovered with the tan vinyl that matches the seats themselves. All the hardware has been replaced on the top. These steel tubes have been sleeved with a thicker steel tubing. The 1/4-inch bolts are gone, and there's 5/16 shoulder bolts in their place. So it's super stout, able to handle more weight. This is the solar wiring I was talking about before. Just comes through a little drop in the ceiling. This one takes care of the lighting and the fan, and I was switching these lights from below. Here's the front, and the nice thing about the front is it's kind of right over the sink area, so whether it's down or up, cooking up or down, you've got light right there. And then the other one in the back, more for reading. This thing's loose. It's one panel, and it was a little bit forward there, so you actually have more room here. Makes for a nice little place to sleep. Of course, clear windows, screens. There was actually a small rip in the screen there. I put some screen tape on it, but the vinyl's all in pretty good shape. This zips open, but there's no vinyl there. It's just open screen. Max fan works great. It's a non-remote model, but I think it is a 10-speed manual rise. The fridge, I had mentioned from the back that you can unlock it from up here, and that's with that lever there, and then the whole thing slides forward. You can get at your drinks or your snacks if you're confined inside. Raining. It goes back in. It locks in place. It's a nice space, all rubber coin flooring. It goes all the way from underneath the dash, one piece, all the way to the back threshold. There's also Husky Liners. Thought I'd set up the tripod here and show you how easy it is to take these panels out. So you just grab one of the handles over here and pull, and it pops right out. Of course, they're all steel. They've got plywood, painted plywood. It's been covered. These are just some cabinet handles. Everything's got Teflon coated or some sort of plastic, so there's no metal on metal contact. So you can pull the pins from either side, pop them up. This one over here runs the same way. Thing. This one's a little bit different system that allows for the pivoting. Basically pulling on these to unlock from this side. Load up bikes. Really gives you an idea of how functional, how multi-use the van could be. You could still sleep upstairs with the bikes in here. You could probably get a motorcycle in here with the stuff gone. Reconfiguring the tray. There's still a lot of things that could be done. It works really well for me, especially with the pop top. Kind of makes my 12-year-old really excited to hang out up there with their friends. Just wanted to take some video up here on the roof of the solar panel. It's a 200-watt panel. Painted the roof white for better reflectivity. The max fan is in the down position now, but it's about 96 to 97 inches off the ground. T-bolts I replaced, fabricated new ones for better waterproofness. Everything's in pretty good shape up here. There's plenty of extra wire, and also the Victron app. I've got that here. You can see the panels pulling in 21 watts, and there's very little sun out right now. It's in float mode, which is why it's pulling very little watts too. The refrigerator's hooked to the load output, but it's not doing anything right now. It's a pretty cool day. History shows it's been sitting here doing its thing. 260 watt hours of consumption on this day. This isn't an actual battery monitor, so you can't monitor amp hours in and out, but it gives you a pretty darn good idea that it's kind of just hanging out and doing its thing, doing what it's supposed to do. You can see some high numbers on the panel. 147 watt peak that day, 126, so the 200 watt panel's putting out pretty decent wattage, and it's dirty. I mean, it's like filthy right now. So